History remembers the symbols, the cross, the sacrifice. But before all of that, before the world was changed forever, there was a night, a single night of profound, human fear that history often overlooks. A night when a man, burdened by the weight of tomorrow, confronted the deepest, most isolating terror. This is the story of that night. The story of the fear that nobody talks about. In the final hours before his arrest, Jesus was not a distant, divine figure. He was a man, surrounded by his closest followers, yet profoundly alone. The air was thick with a tension they couldn't fully grasp. He knew what was coming. Every shadow, every whisper of the wind seemed to carry a premonition of the betrayal and violence that awaited him. Imagine the weight of that knowledge. To sit among friends, sharing a final meal, knowing it was the last time. To look into their eyes, seeing their love and their confusion, while carrying a secret that would shatter their world. This wasn't the isolation of being physically alone. It was the deeper, more painful isolation of knowing a truth no one else could comprehend. The celebration around him was a fragile bubble, and he was the only one who knew it was about to burst. The burden wasn't just his own fate, but the grief and chaos that would soon engulf those he loved. In this crowded room, he was an island, drifting toward a storm he could see forming on the horizon. As the night deepened, he retreated from the company of others, seeking solitude not for prayer in the traditional sense, but for a moment to simply breathe under the crushing weight of his reality. He found a quiet garden, a place of peace that was about to become the scene of his greatest trial. Here under the ancient olive trees, the performance of strength could finally fall away. What remained was a man, a tired, frightened man. This was not the weakness of a failing spirit. It was the natural, human response to an unnatural burden. The fear he felt was born of responsibility. It was the fear of a leader who knows the cost of his mission, the fear of a son facing a terrifying destiny. He was exhausted, not just from days of walking and teaching, but from the immense emotional toll of carrying the future on his shoulders. In the darkness, illuminated only by a sliver of moon, we see him not as a savior, but as a person on the brink, wrestling with a dread that would break almost anyone. He was fully human, and in that humanity, he was experiencing the full spectrum of human terror. The silence of that night was absolute. It wasn't an empty silence, but one filled with unspoken thoughts and overwhelming emotions. The only sounds were the rustle of leaves in the cool night breeze, the distant, muffled noises of a sleeping city, and the frantic beating of his own heart. Time itself seemed to slow down, each second stretching into an eternity of quiet contemplation. There was no dialogue, no divine intervention, just the internal monologue of a man confronting his end. Imagine the thoughts that must have raced through his mind. Memories of his life, the faces of his mother, his friends, questions about the path he had chosen. Was there another way? Could he turn back now and disappear, live a simple, anonymous life? The night offered no answers, only more silence, amplifying the internal conflict. This profound quiet was not a void. It was the space where the most difficult decision of his life had to be made. In this stillness, he was stripped of everything but his own will and his own fear. This was the critical moment. The darkness he felt was not a crisis of faith or a doubt in his purpose. It was the natural, agonizing weight of what was to come. He was staring into the abyss of physical pain, humiliation, and the abandonment he knew he would face. The fear was real. It was visceral. It was the body's primal scream to run, to hide, to survive. Any person would want to escape. But this is where the story turns. In the heart of that overwhelming fear, he made a choice. He did not conquer the fear. He did not make it disappear. Instead, he accepted it. He let it wash over him, acknowledged its power, and then, deliberately, chose to move forward anyway. He chose to stand up, to walk out of the garden, and to face the torches and swords he knew were coming for him. This was not an act of blind obedience. It was a conscious decision, made in the depths of human vulnerability, to continue on the path he believed in, regardless of the personal cost. The choice was made not in a blaze of glory, but in the quiet, trembling resolve of a man who refused to be broken by his own terror. So why does this moment matter so much? Why is this silent, internal struggle so important? Because it reveals the true nature of his courage. It shows us that he was not immune to fear. He was not a detached deity, floating above human emotion. He was one of us. He felt fear, dread, and the desire to flee, just as any of us would. His bravery was not the absence of fear. His courage was the act of moving forward despite it. This night teaches us something profound about the human spirit. It tells us that true strength isn't about being fearless. It's about what you do when you are terrified. It's about finding the will to take one more step, even when every part of you wants to turn back. This night in the garden humanizes him completely, making his subsequent sacrifice not an act of divine inevitability, but a deeply personal, courageous human choice. History remembers the sacrifice. These are the pillars of a faith that shaped the world. But perhaps the most pivotal moment happened before any of that. In the quiet darkness of a garden, it was there, in the silence and the solitude, that the true battle was fought and won. Not against soldiers or accusers, but against the primal human instinct for survival. Courage was not born on the cross. Courage was born in the silence of the night, when a man, terrified and alone, chose to face the dawn. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more explorations of the human side of history.